Easy Maintenance Web has features that allow service providers via the Internet to invoice you for work which you have assigned them and allow you to invoice customers for work which you have performed for them. Here we will demonstrate how this works. The first type of invoicing we will discuss is invoicing from service providers to subscribers to EasyM Web. Invoices from service providers to subscribers always originate as a work assignment to the service provider from the subscriber to EasyM Web. To make the work order assignment, first the subscriber goes into the Maintenance Due section of EasyM Web. There they find a piece of equipment which they have entered into the application, find a work order which they wish to be completed by the outside vendor or service provider, and then assign that work order to the service provider. After the subscriber to EasyM Web has made the work order assignment, the service provider or vendor can view the work order when they log into EasyM Web. They would browse to the Open Work Order section of the program where all of the work orders which are assigned to them are listed. After completing the work which they have been assigned, the work order is closed and the service provider or vendor can generate an invoice for that work and send it through EasyM Web to the EasyM Web subscriber. The service provider can add their own price markups and discounts to the different items on the invoice, as well as any applicable tax amounts, and then pass the invoice through EasyM Web to the main account subscriber for whom they are doing the work. Once the service provider has submitted the invoice to the main account subscriber to EasyM Web, then they can also view the invoice as well in the Open Invoices section of the application. If the main account subscriber to EasyM Web accepts the charges on the invoice, they can then pay the vendor or service provider for their work and close the invoice, which will then go into the list of closed invoices. Once the invoice is closed, that ends the process of a service provider or vendor invoicing a main account subscriber to EasyM Web. Invoices can also be passed from subscribers to customers who enter work requests for the subscriber to complete. This type of invoicing originates as a request by the customer for some maintenance to be performed. To do this, the customer logs into EasyM Web and browses to the New Request section of the program where they submit their request for maintenance. Once the maintenance request has been submitted, the subscriber can log into EasyM Web and view the request as well as any other requests from customers. The EasyM Web subscriber can then easily create a work order from this request. Once the work order has been completed and the work order is closed, the EasyM Web subscriber can generate an invoice for the work and add their own price markups and discounts to the different items on the invoice, as well as any applicable tax amounts, and then pass the invoice to the customer for whom they are doing the work. Once the invoice has been submitted to the customer, then it is also available for them to print out for their records. And once the EasyM Web subscriber closes the invoice, that ends the process of the subscriber invoicing a customer directly for work. It is important to note that EasyM Web allows the EasyM Web subscriber to mark up invoices received from an outside service provider or vendor, create a new invoice from the EasyM Web subscriber, and pass that invoice along to the customer.